В имении героиню встретил ее брат Леонид Андреевич Гаев.
What you are witnessing right now is a live production of Chekhov's Cherry Orchid by the Tostanagov Bolshoi Drama Theater made in Minecraft. It's performed by real actors, is rehearsed and directed in the medium, and played for real audience in Minecraft. A theater was built in the server and audience bought their tickets and walk into a virtual world to the venue, get their announcement to turn off their phones and watch the play, which was 15 minutes long, courtesy to the internet audience. For two reasons, I'm addressing you in English rather than my native language Turkish. First, basic language barrier for terms. VR, AR, sub-realities, virtual worlds, or words like immersion doesn't fully comply with the words in Turkish as expected. Secondly, my focal point, the duality of the words game and play, translates into Turkish as one word, oyun, and can't be differentiated. So, let's begin. 2020 pandemic is a terrifying event for all industries. Not just the disease itself, but quarantines, masks, hand sanitizers, gloves, vaccines, side effects, hospitals, occupancy rates in hospitals, daily death tolls, daily infected tolls. All this was a lot. And all industries are affected by it. Restaurants, cafes, and factories, and workshops and cinemas were all shut down, and also theaters. But, in my opinion, theater community reacted poorly. Our first instinct was to just go online. Without any preparation, clearly not knowing the guidelines and not familiarizing with communities of the medium, just head diving into the idea of going online. We just open Zoom and record the top of our heads because we are reading the text and put it on YouTube or Instagram. While doing so, always emphasizing that this is not a substitute for theater. But why not? Greek word techne, which has the same roots with technology, means art and craft. So from the beginning, techne and craft go side by side. With every advancement in technology, art reformed itself, and each time there was conflict. But from where we are standing, we know that cameras didn't kill paintings, electronic instruments doesn't replace acoustic ones, and for sure, movies doesn't displace theater plays. Yes, using projections, recorded musics, voiceovers, and microphones did take its toll on theater, but nevertheless, doesn't undermine its fundamentals. But theater fall back significantly in the progress of technology. In a world where every single person has a supercomputer in their pockets and movie theater-sized screens in their homes, theater started to feel like more of a nostalgic taste for more elite audience. Some might argue with theater being live and irreplaceable because of this property, but what's live really? Is it really that different? Sitting in a dark theater hall, in silence and watching an illuminated space, sometimes from far away, than watching a movie. Does it really feel alive? Watching actors almost doing the same things over and over every night, do their presence really affect anything in this matter? Is there really some magical, artful thing watching a 12-week rehearsed Macbeth in a room with 40 people rather than, let's say, Polanski's Macbeth in a flat screen? These questions do not appear with the pandemic, of course, but in my opinion, this is a great time to assess the building blocks of theater. It's a great opportunity, in the era of timelessness, to think what makes theater really live, rather than flesh and blood in display, to think liveness as an immersion, which seems like the original idea of theater, not just being observers sitting in a dark corner, but being participants in the act of creating art. I don't think anyone looks at Super Mario Bros. And think, well, this might be a good addition to the conventional theater, but game industry has too much advanced to overlooked at this point. It's clearly a new way to tell stories and uses the very basics of theater and cinema. Games now have directors, cinematographers, art directors, sound mixers, story writers, Games now have concepts of moralities, choices, catharsis, pathos, ethos. But most importantly to me, I can immerse with a game easily than any other art form. Let's talk about Moss, a VR game developed by Polyarch. In contrary to most VR games, Moss doesn't have a first-person view. We are not seeing from the point of view of the main character. We are merely a companion to a creature called Quill. She's on a quest, and she has her own story, but needs our attention. When she can't move a big rock, we help her. We just push a virtual rock. But it feels amazing, because Quill acknowledges us. She looks at us and points at things, and when she needs help or when we stay idle, she just gazes at us like, "What's up?" I can't remember a theater play that makes my presence this much notable. In 2014, we created a play called Rhapsody. It was about protests against demolition of Emek Theater. One of our goals was to create some kind of a social media impact in the play. So with a little bit of exploring, we find some apps that we can create real-time visual and audio feeds from our phones directly to a PC-connected projector to the screen. We use an offline Wi-Fi router and bring 4K resolution live footage directly from our actors' phones to screens behind them. Well, it was an easy and uncomplicated process for me because I did some live game broadcasting, use green screens and video apps before. But in the same year, State Theatre made a Romeo and Juliet production, which uses same kind of a live-in play broadcasting to screen behind actors, with a bulky camera and a camera guy walking on stage, which can be overseen within dramaturgy, of course, but cables all around the stage, technical operators, and result was average video quality with distortion and lags. A 14-year-old League of Legends player can broadcast in front of a green screen, make comments on gameplay, chat with his or her audience, and continue playing game flawlessly. But to a non-gamer or, let's say, non-tech enthusiastic, whole green screen thing is an enigma. Not a tool to be learned and crafted, but a gimmick to use. Not an art to master and play with, but a cosmetic to attract more attention. To be fair, there are a lot of discussions, at least in my circle, to somehow include VR and AR to the theater. There are a few problems we need to address here. First, expenses. Whether we distribute VR goggles to audience or actors, these are expensive gadgets. You can buy 10-15 wooden swords until you learn the basics and start exploring in rehearsals, but you can't buy 5 Oculus Quest just to rehearse with them. You can reach out to a video editor to create some footage for projections, but can't find a programmer that easily create you some virtual space. Second, interest and education. Fine arts and science and technology seem so far away in the spectrum of creating. While doing my postgraduate as a theater major, most of our group studies included questions like how to convert a pages file to a doc file or how to download a certain type of file. So as a result, graduates from fine art universities has little to no knowledge about technologies that they can use while creating plays, if they has no enthusiasm for the subject. Just to mention, we have seen some efforts from art galleries and museums using mostly AR, sometimes with basic goggles or plain cell phone screens. Again, it's a delight to see some efforts, but nevertheless, not an immersion, but a gimmick. Gaming industries fully integrated with the idea of immersion. AR and VR industries, especially after Facebook edition growing rapidly. There are a lot of video essays and TED Talks about the future of storytelling in VR. You can create movies in Rec Room, chat in VR chat, paint in Tilt Brush, play charades in Puppet Master, create animated characters and act as them in Mind Show. So, what's holding us back to use all this to create a new kind of immersion for theater? Not to substitute conventional theater, but to expand it further.